Hi everybody, welcome to this week's update. This week we're talking to Arden Haar about the logistics function in the incident management team. But first, I'd like to acknowledge that we're coming to you from the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. Acknowledge elders past, present and emerging, and just acknowledge that at the moment there's quite a few things in the media about the upcoming vote, and that can be difficult for some of our folks. Welcome, Arden. And this week we're talking about logistics. So, as we know, we've been talking about recruitment over the last little while, and the recruitment's actually going really well. We've got well over 150, I think it's close to 170 applicants across all the different parts of recruitment that we're doing at the moment. But today we're particularly going to talk about logistics in the incident management team. So, Arden, you're the lead of the logistics function. What do logistics do in activation?
Cool. Thanks, Anthony, and good morning, everyone. I hope everyone's doing okay on this cold morning in Victoria. So as most people would know, the logistics function is one of multiple functions within the incident management team. So there is logistics, operations, safety and wellbeing and planning. And so logistics is basically responsible for the organising of all the resources and peoples required for the activation. So that includes rostering, so rostering volunteers, so they are organised for all the shifts that they'll be attending, and then organising their accommodation and travel, as well as pre-deployment questionnaires, which is a 20-minute call basically to check the readiness of our volunteers. So those are kind of the main gist of it, depending on the activation and what's going on. Sometimes we'll also help with food relief, but that's usually more rare situations. And then, yeah, we also organise sending resources like uniforms, like wet weather jackets if there's a big storm, or particular equipment that might be required for some activations as well. But yeah, it's a very fun function to work in. So
Yeah, and it's such an essential function, and it's a like with all of the IMT functions, everyone has different skill sets, although they are interchangeable. We do have folks that work across the different functions. Um, but tell me about the sort of skills that you need to work in the logistics function.
yeah, so you need to be highly organised because you really need to kind of think from the start to the beginning. So how does this volunteer get to that shift? And then what happens at the end of it as well. You also kind of need to think from a bigger picture perspective as well, so that you can try and understand what's going on in a grander scheme of things and how that all connects. So if we've got a couple volunteers coming from somewhere in Gippsland and then they're trying to get to Warrnambool, and then you've got volunteers up in the centre, how do we connect them all? How do we make it the most efficient way of getting them to all transport together? So yeah, you really want to have like an efficient, big picture kind of mindset as well. Highly organised, as I said before. You also, I guess, you want to have quite a lot of good foresight skills, so you can anticipate and plan things. And you also want to have a pretty good awareness of what's going on around you. For example, if there's a lot of road closures or something going on, you need to be aware of that, and you need to anticipate possible changes that could impact your logistics planning. It's also, I think, in logistics, it's good to be really flexible because you know that things aren't always going to work out the way that you expect them to, and you need to also be able to anticipate that. And I think another part of logistics that people often forget is an important thing is actually relationship building and knowing who to contact when you don't know where to go to get things organized, and knowing who you do need to contact to sort things out. So yeah, it's a bit of a myriad of skills. So
Well, it is, and it's an exciting and a dynamic place, and I know as commander that having that function and being able to rely on the people in it is just critical. So, you know, for me, having to move people from one place to another, to have the logistics help and know that all that's under control and that their accommodation and the level of complexity around that is under control. And even sometimes when we do have a slip or something unexpected happens, there's always someone there to pick it up and to make it work. Um, Tell me a bit more about the pre-deployment checks, Arden.
yeah, so the pre-deployment check is an important function of getting our volunteers ready to go out, and it's also a requirement within Red Cross. So it can last from anywhere to 5 minutes if it's not the volunteer's first time going out, to half an hour, 45 minutes. And there's a whole combination of things that a pre-deployment check includes. So a large part of it is that psychosocial readiness. So depending on where they're going, even if they're going to the incident management team or they're going to an activation in the field, they still need to do a pre-deployment check. And so that's basically just making sure that they are aware of what kind of situation it's going to be and how tough that situation is. Like, is there going to be lots of media that are in your face? Are you going to be dealing with highly distressed people? Is it going to be a really busy office environment where people are a little bit more tense? So the pre-deployment check is just making sure that the people that are going out are aware of that. And then it is also kind of doing that initial first check-in to be like, where are you going? Where are you coming from? Do you have a car? What are your general arrangements and travels? And anything that we need to consider in the planning of getting them to where they need to go.
Yeah, and it's such an important thing, and let's be honest, in the heat of the moment, sometimes we struggle to do it or to receive
Yeah.
that call, but it really does represent Red Cross's commitment to keeping us safe. And I think we lead a bit in this space, and I think I'm really excited that we have it, and it's a really important thing that we do.
Yeah. And on that note, with the pre-deployment checks, even if people don't want to be part of the logistics team, if there's volunteers in an activation that are willing to help out to do those pre-deployment checks and support the logistics team without having to worry about the accommodation and travel, then we're always super keen to have people just to do those check-in calls as well. And that's also a really good experience for the person who's making the calls, so they can kind of know what people are going for when they're preparing for an activation.
Yep, absolutely. So it's a really important part. So there's the logs function, a really critical cog in the machine that is the incident management team. Again, if you're interested in that, you can reach out to Arden directly, or you can apply. We'll make sure that the links are in the post, so you can apply for those things. They're still open for a while yet, but you probably need to be quick and get your application in. So thanks so much, Arden, for your time today.
That's all good, thank you. And I hope that some people are keen to get on board. It's a really fun function to be in, and it's a super great problem solving. It's like, how do we get, X amount of volunteers to this one place that's cut off by a bunch of floods or something like that. So it's really fun problem solving skills as well. And we've got a great team. So I hope some people are keen to get involved.
Thanks so much, Arden.
Thank you so much, Anthony, for having me today.